Let's continue the journey of learning about gelled lighting in photography. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm David Bird with Reality Reimagined. I'm an award-winning photographer and Photoshop artist that specializes in fantasy composite art. And we're going to continue the journey of learning about gelled lighting, photography, and how to edit those images in Photoshop with a three-part series that's starting with part 1 on the channel. Part 2 and 3 will be coming to the channel in the next few weeks. In part 1, we're going to talk about these new LED units that I have on set, and we'll go over all the specs and the fun of these units and how they work. And then in part 2, we'll utilize them in a photo shoot. I'm going to talk about the strengths of the lights and how they work with the subject and camera, and then also how I'm going to overcome some of the challenges that these lights present, both using the current camera gear that I have, as well as new potential perspective gear that I'm looking at for 2021. And then in part 3, we'll take the images from raw all the way to the final artwork and share that entire editing process in Photoshop with you. So let's begin with part 1 and talking about these new units that I am so excited to have and finally be able to share with you all. These units are made by a company called Lumin8, and there is a link in the description below on the video to their website. These units themselves are called Full Spectrum. They are 4-foot long LED units that are battery powered, and they are full RGB controlled and full color and temperature light controlled with an app on your phone, both for Android and for iOS. These are amazing units, and I am so excited to have them. Now, unfortunately, at the time of this recording on the main Lumin8 site, they are not available for direct purchase. They are available for pre-order. I got 5 of these units as a part of a Kickstarter that was launched over the summer of 2020. And then, unfortunately, because of COVID, they were finally delivered in late September of 2020. The units are amazing, and they are single-handedly changing how I capture gel photography. Now, all the gel photography work that I've done in the past, I have used my Godox AD600 strobes and varying light modifiers from Strobe Pro. And it has worked wonderfully, but there's one major drawback to that process of using standard strobes, a flash, in the studio versus continuous light. And to explain that, let me take you back just a little bit of my career before I became a photographer. I don't know if I've talked about this very much on the channel, but I have a background in theater. I worked as an actor, as a director. I wrote stage plays. I wanted to go to Hollywood and become famous and be in movies and buy my own island, and that would be the last time you ever saw me. But my life path went down a different road several years back, and that entire story is for another video another time. However, my background in theater, I am not unfamiliar with continuous light at all. When you start building the visuals of what you want the scenes on the stage to look like, and especially how you want the story to be linked together, the stage lights become an integral part of that, especially when you start using color in those lights. So having continuous light, again, is something that I'm familiar with. What is so wonderful about these continuous lights versus using studio strobes, using flashes, is this process. When I use a flash, I will put gel material over the light, and then I have to position the lights where I see them working best with the image that I have in my imagination. I've got to meter up the lights, set the right settings on the camera, and then take a series of test images and then make all these minuscule adjustments to the power of the light, the position of the lights themselves, the camera settings, till I get it exactly to match what I see in my imagination. That entire process takes just a little bit of time. The issue is, once I go through one look with the subject or a series of poses, then I want to move the lights around. I want to change the colors and so forth, and I have to repeat the whole test process all over again. When that gets compounded onto the limitations of every single time I want to change the gels, I got to pull off the light modifiers, put new plastic gel material over the bulbs in the AD600 strobes from either Godox or the Flashpoint units, and then repeat everything trying to figure it out. With the continuous LED lights, it's seamless. I'm able to instantaneously see not only how the color is going to interact together, but I'm able to see how the light is hitting the subject. And I can understand where it is and sculpt it simply by rotating these units. Now, these are 4-foot long cylinder units, but the LEDs are only illuminating on one side. So about half of the unit is where all the light is spilling out from. But it is such a powerful omnidirectional light that I feel like you're getting a lot of wraparound of light behind the unit itself. So again, having the continuous light, positioning them wherever I need them to be, I can make these minuscule little adjustments with the lights and the intensity settings using the app on my phone, and I'm off to the races capturing the images significantly faster than I was in the past using the strobes. And I can feel more free to experiment with different colors and different patterns and so forth, because I know it doesn't take nearly as much time to pull the modifiers off the strobes, change the gel material, and then have to remeter everything and so forth. I can just trust what I see with my own human eyes, and then just take a few test shots with the camera to make sure that the settings for the aperture and the shutter and the ISO are matching everything that I see in my imagination. So that's the benefit of continuous light themselves. And that's why I'm so excited about these units. They, again, are battery powered, so let's start getting into some of those tech specs and so forth. But I do want to mention that first, with the battery power, these units, I fully charged them when I received them. I got 5 of the units when I got them delivered in September. They are still running on the same charge from September, and we're in December at the time of this recording in 2020. And I have used these on like 4 different shoots, and they've been running for 2 or 3 hours at a time. So another benefit of having LEDs is that LEDs traditionally don't pull that much power, whether they are directly, AC/DC powered, or if they're powered by light or batteries. So ultimately, you should be able to get a really good amount of use out of these off of one battery charge itself. So let's go through some of the specs of what you get with these units and talk about all the fanciness with them. And I want to start with the bag that they came in. I mean, legit, because here's the deal. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that thinks this, but to me, one of the first measures of the quality of the unit that I have purchased in the realm in the industry of photography is the bag that it comes in. And it reminds me of the advice my father would always tell me ever since I was a young child, that you can tell a lot by a person by the shoes that they wear. My father rose to great success. He came from nothing. He was a vice chairman of a big insurance company before he passed away. And I learned so much about business and life and being a good human being from him. And again, one of those lessons was wear good shoes. Now, I have blue Chucks that are my favorite shoes to wear because they're incredibly comfortable. That's a different story. The bag that these units come in is fantastic. The material is wonderful. The zipper is strong and it's great. It's got little pouches in it to hold all the various pieces that come with the unit itself. So let's start talking about all of that. First, the units come with a mounting plate, and the mounting plate is 2 clamps on either side that attaches right to the unit. Now, the first drawback with this mounting plate, not to get negative, but it is making little scuff marks and so forth on the plastic every time that you attach it and then detach it from the lights. I don't think that's going to be a problem over time. It's not really like the scuff marks are going to affect the quality of light and how it's coming out of the unit, but that's something to be cognizant of. It also comes with an attachment little positioning arm that you can attach that to the wall or different varying elements and so forth. At the bottom of each one of the full spectrum units, there is a 3/4 inch pin so that you can attach them directly to light stands and other equipment that has those pins on them. It also comes with a little remote control, and on the remote control, you have varying options of different light settings that you can set in there and so forth, but the true power of being able to customize the lighting with these units is the app that is available on Android and iOS. In this app, you have 2 major options. One, you have the option to be able to control the color and temperature of the white light, quote unquote, and then also be able to have the full RGB controls, both intensity and saturation of the color that you choose. The lights connect to your phone via Bluetooth. It is pretty seamless in how it connects. It really truly feels like it's plug and play, and you're off to the races themselves. Now, the lights can also be programmed to synchronize with music, to the beats of the music and so forth, and do a whole bunch of other fancy, interesting things. I have not really experimented with any of that because ultimately that's not something that I would be using in my industry as a photographer. But if you're in a DJ or event planning and so forth, I am sure these lights will be a wonderful asset to have in your toolkit, specifically to have those lights be able to change colors, change intensity, blink on and off and so forth with music and various things. The app is great. The bag is great. The equipment that comes with it is wonderful. The major complaint that I have about the units, and I will always be honest with you, so as much as I love these lights, I'm going to tell you the drawback, and this is the only one that I've found thus far. The mounting plate, the clamp, it's the little arm that comes with it, the bendable arm. it doesn't have a lot of strength to a lot of torsion, if you will. So ultimately, if you position it and you try to let the weight of the light let it bend just a little bit and stand straight up, it doesn't hold the weight of the light, it just dips down immediately. I have 5 of the units themselves, and the units, the 5th one I was using on a boom arm that I have in the studio, positioned in front of the subject, so it would be the main key light in front of them with potentially a 3rd color, or many different colors, whatever you want to do creatively. And I could not get the light to stay positioned the way I wanted it to because there just wasn't enough strength in that bendable arm. So hopefully that is something that Lumin8 will improve upon in the future. But right now, just understand that when you get the units, if it comes with the same bendable clamp arm that these came with from the Kickstarter, then you're going to have some problems there. I'm still trying to figure out a couple solutions for that, but ultimately it hasn't been too much of an issue for me. Now, on the bottom of the lights, there's the pin so that they can be connected to light stands. I went ahead and bought 5 little mini stands off of Amazon. They're made by a company called Newer. And so right now these lights are connected to that, and that gives me the ability to take these 4-foot lights and raise them up higher or a little bit lower so that I can move them around, position them around the subjects. So that versatility of being able to move them, the controls of the lights and so forth using the app is all wonderful, but what I also love is what you see right now. They can be utilized not only as a light source, but as a set piece. And so my intention is to buy more of these units when they become available for direct purchase off the website. Again, they're only available for pre-order right now. So once I'm able to get my hands on some more of them, I'm going to be using them in various ways of creating different shapes with them that become set pieces, as well as illuminating the subject, and then also use them as just general illumination. And when I teach at photography conferences, I would have to take several different strobes and speed lights and gel material of all kind so that the students would have access to those units. I am so excited to be able to take these units with me to the conferences that I teach at because they're small, they fit in the bags perfectly, the great bags, and they are versatile, and it's wonderful. The batteries last forever. They are amazing. So let's talk about the final thing and then finish up part 1 today. So about price. Now, at the time of this recording, again, they're available for pre-order. I do not know the specific price point that they have currently on the website. When I got them through Kickstarter, it was buy 4 and get the 5th one for free. You could buy 1, 2, and then if you bought 4, you got the 5th one free. So I went ahead and bought the 4, so I get the 5th one free. That, coupled with the shipping, took all 5 of these units to a total of just above $800. So ultimately, each unit is going to be somewhere between $150 and $175. I do not think that is too bad of a price point. Units like these, LEDs, have existed in photography for quite some time. They're usually around 2 foot. They're called ice lights, and there's other companies like Westcott and so forth that makes them, and they've been popular for a while. These are the first 4-foot units that are cylinders that I have seen. I've seen other units that are cube-shaped and rectangular shaped and varying controls and mechanisms, and the price points for any one of those, the 2-foot ice lights in the past, these little cubes and so forth, seems to always be north of $100 and less than $200 US dollars. I don't think that's too bad of a price point to spend, but I do want to take the time to say this. If you were stepping into photography as a business or as a hobby for the first time, or you're stepping into gelled lighting and gel photography for the first time, I would caution you to take just a little bit more time to think about what you want to do with this, because this is a very niche, very stylized photography style with the gel lighting. And to drop $800 potentially on brand new units like this, I just worry that some folks are going to rush out to get them and then not be prepared to know how to use them all the way through, which is part of the reason why I'm making this series on the channel, so you'll be able to get an idea of how they work, how user-friendly they are, how easy they are to start working with. But I just want to encourage you to take the time to understand how gel photography, gel lighting fits into the photography work that you're going to do and your intents for it for revenue streams in the future. I'm not saying don't run out and get it. I'm just saying take some time to think about all of that, because it is a very stylized type of way to capture images. But I love it. I love it because being able to tell the story of these images with light that is coming from all the colors of the spectrum and not just quote-unquote white light drastically changes how this is done. And these units themselves single-handedly are changing how I capture these images, both from the continuous light perspective, but also the versatility of the controls and the colors and the intensity of the light, the saturation of the light. It's endless, and I'm so excited to continue working with these units themselves. So that pretty much wraps up part 1 of this series, where we've talked about the units themselves. In part 2, again, we'll have the photo shoot. I'm going to show you how I use the lights during the photo shoot and some of the strengths and weaknesses of these lights, and hopefully some plans that I have to overcome all of that. So if you like the content that you found in part 1, make sure to give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel, because new content debuts each week in photography and Photoshop education. And when you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of that new content when you return to the YouTubes. Thanks so much for watching today, and until next time, I'll see you out there in the world of Photoshop.